Questions?
Mayor, we're ready.
Okay, good morning. I'm calling the meeting to order at 9:01. If you can please stand, I will lead you in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra. Here. Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Menke. Present. Councilmember Gonzalez. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to the agenda, City Clerk?
There are none.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second. Motion by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Menke to approve the agenda. Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra. Yes. Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke. Yes. Councilmember Gonzalez. Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we will go on to public comment from members of the audience. At this time, the public is encouraged to address the City Council on any matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The public will also be given a chance to comment on matters which are posted on the agenda during City Council deliberation on those specific matters. Is there any public comments?
There is none.
We will now go on to the presentation items.
Item number 1 is Employee Service PIN Award for April and May 2020, and Human Resources Director Earl will present the item.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the City Council. This morning, we'd like to recognize 4 city employees for achieving service milestones with the city. During the month of April, we had Carlos Florete, who's a police officer who was hired on April the 20th, 2015, being recognized for 5 years of service. In the month of May, we have Jason Lucas, who's also a police officer. He was hired in May, on May 19th, 2015, being recognized for 5 years of service. Jose Germano is a street maintenance worker from the Public Works Department who was hired May 16th of 2005 and is being recognized for 15 years of service. And lastly, we have Maricela Martinez, who's the Bio and Finance Department. She was hired May 15th of 2000 and is being recognized for 20 years of service. Please join me in recognizing these employees.
Mayor, if you'd like to go on to item number 2.
Okay, we'll now go on to the public hearings portion of the agenda.
Item 2 is amendment to Municipal Code Chapter 26 zoning map, which has been continued from July 7th, 2020. Public Works Director Wall will present the report.
Mayor, I have conferred with the city attorney on this item, and I've been advised that due to the fact that I have an ownership interest in one of the properties, which is part of the zone change, I must recuse myself from participating. In compliance with FCC regulations, I'd like to render my inability to participate in public hearings and decide decision in this matter due to the property ownership interest. I will be recusing myself at this time and will be leaving the council chamber. Thank you.
Thank you.
Put the map up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, currently residential development is only allowed in housing zone which was created to accommodate housing in limited and specific areas of the city. The housing overlay was created to allow for the construction of the Vernon Village apartments, and this is the only property that currently has this zoning designation. The only other privately owned housing in Vernon is located at 2328 and at 2332, 2334 East Vernon Avenue. The item before you will zoning map to these 2 properties in the housing staff the opportunity to provide information on why these properties were not included in the housing overlay zone when the map was last modified in 2015. I spoke with former Director Samuel Kevin Wilson about this, and he said that the housing overlay zone was created in order to construct the Northern Village apartments, and that the subject properties were not included in the housing overlay zone because their continued residential use would be grandfathered under the zoning code that was being adopted. The staff report from the 2015 adoption that created the housing overlay zone noted that staff had concerns about the compatibility of introducing housing when industrial uses prevail throughout Vernon. Those concerns would not apply in this case because these properties already exist at this location as housing. The homes on these properties are 5 and 54 years old respectively. They are adjacent to the Vernon City School and across the street from the 10 city-owned homes on Furlong Place. Given the residential and educational uses of the surrounding properties and the historic residential use of these two properties, expanding the housing overlay zone to include the properties create conflicts with surrounding business. You might ask, why is staff recommending that the housing overlay zone be expanded to include these two existing grandfathered residential properties? There's two reasons for that. First, in a conversation with staff at Bank of America, I learned that banks do not make residential loans on residential properties that are outside of the residential zone. This means that if these properties were to be sold without housing overlay zone, a buyer would not be able to obtain a residential mortgage, and that these properties would likely be converted to a non-residential use. Second, the state of California mandates the number of housing units that must be provided in each city through a regional housing needs assessment allocation. For under the RHNA, there must be 8 additional housing units in Vernon by October 2029. Losing these homes would make meeting Vernon's RHNA housing requirements difficult. Adding the housing overlay to these properties does not change their use, but instead allows for their future continued use as housing. Staff initiated a proposal in an effort to retain housing in the city. This concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Do any members of the city council have questions of staff at this time?
I will. What's the measurement of this property?
So each of the two lots are 50 feet wide by 133.5 feet deep.
How is it deep?
The 133.5.
Does anyone have any further questions for staff? I will now open the public hearing. If any member of the public would like to speak on this matter, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and business affiliation, if any.
Mayor, it appears as if there are no public speakers.
Thank you. Seeing that there are none, I now close the public comment portion of the public hearing. Does the city council have any questions of staff at this time?
No, but I'd like to enter into deliberations.
Seeing as all questions have been addressed, I hereby close the public hearing and open city council deliberations. Once deliberations are complete, I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll start. When this came before us weeks ago, we were asked to correct a mistake in zoning by making an amendment to the specific property. And the mayor and I both asked for some backup information regarding how the property was zoned prior to 2015, which we did not receive. However, there were attachments that weren't provided, but I found to the staff report from 2015 that gives us some guidance here. I was wondering why all the rest of the houses, the ones on Furlong, Fruitland, the 50th Street apartments, if how the housing overlay was meant to change the zoning to housing, then why didn't they do those? Well, I think Mr. Wall explained it fairly well. However, the housing overlay was only, that is the word that's in the general plan. And we have to look to the general plan for how we're going to run this city. And they were very clear. On page 6, housing overlay, the housing overlay district is applicable only to sites that have been specifically identified by the city and determined to be the best locations for housing, given surrounding uses, proximity to service, and amenity, and distance, and it goes on and on. And no more than 61 units shall be permitted within the housing overlay district citywide. This was created, just like Mr. Ken Wilson said, specifically for the apartments on 52nd Drive. So how do I know that private residences weren't supposed to be in this? Because it also says in the general plan on page 22 that and there supposedly are 5 private residences. I don't know really where all of them are. They specifically talk about them. And if they're privately owned and the owner makes a major alteration or repair, and that is something that equals more than 50% of the fair market value, yada, yada, then the city will remove their legal non-conforming status. So they took into consideration that the properties were zoned, well, grandfathered in, I guess, to legal non-conforming status. That's what the status is. That's what the status should be. And then I thought, okay, the homeowner's not bringing this, the city is. What benefit is it to the city? As far as the RENA numbers goes, if we follow that logic, then all of the houses on Furlong, Vernon, Fruitland, and the 50th Street apartments wouldn't be counted in the RENA numbers either. They're existing properties. They can't, RENA is for new properties. We have to build for very low income and for low income properties. So that really has nothing to do with it. But on page 22, still wondered, were the property owners given enough information? And did they participate in it? No, for that time in 2015. Well, there was a environmental impact report that was completed. There were no less than 3 public workshops. They were also given the opportunity to review the draft zoning and the comments. On page 22 of our general use, no residential owners have proposed major renovations to their properties. Residential property owners participated in the recent zoning ordinance revision process and then expressed opposition to the standards that apply to existing non-conforming residential structures in the city, including the prohibitions on increasing square footage and undertaking major alterations. So obviously, it was intended, and that's how we see what the intent was for our municipal code. Their intent was that the existing properties were to remain legal, non-conforming structures. That was to be their status. I can't see a benefit to changing this for the city. I don't think we can. The housing overlay was only for those of property on 52nd. And basically, I think we're trying to circumvent the general plan. So I would move to reject the staff's recommendation as to the zoning, as it would be wholly inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the general plan for the city of Vernon. That's all.
I'll second that.
Do you have any plans property or what? what's the hearing on this?
This is,
It was, zone for,
this is currently, staff is recommending housing overlay zone be placed on the property to allow for a residential mortgage on the property.
To my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, this is only to change over the zoning from commercial to residential, and residential is exactly what is there, right? It's houses, obviously, that are there at those locations.
Yeah, so from current industrial only zoning to an overlay zone, which would allow the current structures to be legal conforming residential structures. It's not to add new structures. If the property owner wanted to expand the use beyond what is currently built there, under the housing overlay zone, it would require an additional use permit for that expanded use.
That was in my reading of the general plan. You show me where that,
That's in chapter 26 of the zoning plan.
okay, what exactly, what did it say that would make if so by some stretch of the imagination, we could zone this housing overlay, which I don't believe is going to industrial residential. It was just made for the apartments. It's basically for new construction. I don't see how we can
Everyone. Except the
change
mayor.
it to old construction. And I don't see what the benefit is to the city, because it doesn't affect our arena numbers.
So it does affect arena numbers because arena numbers require a net increase in housing. So.
But these are existing, how can it be a net
So
increase?
if we lost these, we would have to have them replaced in our arena number. Our arena number looks for, we have to submit a total number of housing to the state, and if we had a deficit of 3, even if we had 8 additional units, we would still be short 3 units.
But how would we be losing those units?
If there were to be a sale of the property and a residential mortgage was not allowed to be placed on the property, then the only use that could be financed would be an industrial use.
And frankly, from reading the general plan, that's what was intended, because the feeling was that most of the property in the city of Vernon is so hazardous that we can't build. I agree, and I think I would like, I mean, I don't know how they can reflect our arena numbers, and that's if this happened, and maybe it would happen. I don't think that we can, if we could, because I'm saying that we can't change the zoning to the housing overlay because it was only for a specific purpose. But if we could, I don't see how it benefits the city and why we brought it instead of getting a verified application from the owner.
City Attorney, can you advise on whether or not we can change it?
Yes. Madam Mayor, members of the council, the ability of the city council to change the zoning codes or the general plan solely rests with actually the city council. So the discretion of whether or not the council feels it's appropriate to make changes for the general plan is certainly within the jurisdiction of the city council. And even if the previous findings of a prior city council were such that there was certain intent expressed by that city council, whatever city council, that city council cannot bind future city councils in matters like this. So the past is helpful guidance, but it's not binding to the city council.
But doesn't our general plan bind us?
I'm sorry. Yes, Mayor, members of the council, the general plan is a fluid document in lifetime, so that if the council wishes to change the concepts or the designations of certain properties under the general plan, again, the city council, depending upon the nature of what is needed at that point in time, has the ability to amend the general plan. The general plan is not etched in stone where there's no ability to toss it away without breaking the stone. You have the ability to mold that stone, if you will, into what you feel.
I agree with you. However, to do that, wouldn't we have to change the wording of the housing overlay district to make it consistent with changing it to an existing property? Because that's not how it's worded. And it says only. It's not really left open for discussion.
You're pulling up the housing overlay district language.
It's the land use element. I do, I have it.
That's the general plan. It's, 26.4.6.
Okay. Belief is that we would need to change the housing overlay zone.
Land use element.
The housing overlay zone establishes a development agreement as the entitlement process for these first establishing a new residential. The agreement will allow tailored development standards. Right.
Which is we entered into with Meta.
I understand the intent, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's intended to bring what is at this point legal non-conforming uses into a conforming use.
No. That's not the purpose.
No, the purpose of what I'm bringing forward is.
Yes, but he's asking the purpose of the housing overlay.
No, I'm talking about the purpose of, not the global housing overlay, but this specific
Right.
application.
Would be to bring in an existing property into the housing overlay district, and I don't think we can do that. Without changing the language, I mean, if we want to change the general plan, then of course we can.
Provide the housing overlay, zone language of the zoning code. Purpose of the housing overlay zone is to accommodate housing at limited and specific areas of the city pursuant to general plan policy, and to locate such housing in a manner that minimizes potential conflicts between residential and industrial uses. Standards and findings set forth in the housing overlay zone are those deemed necessary to promote health and safety of residents and businesses and the orderly operation function of the city. Given the industrial nature of Vernon, this section 26.4.6 housing overlay zone establishes a development agreement as the entitlement process for establishing any new residential use in the housing overlay zone.
New.
But by new means that there is new development as
New
opposed to
construction.
existing development.
Exactly.
Right. Zoning agreements tailored so that if you do have new construction in the housing overlay zone, it would require development.
Okay. The make sure we're on the same page. You understand that out of all of the residential properties in the city of Vernon, the only property that is included in the housing overlay district are the apartments on 52nd Drive.
And my question is, that would, they have development agreements for their construction.
That's exactly what it was proposed for, to build. They added this to the general plan in order to build the apartments, to enter into a public and private partnership with Meta. We leased the land, and they built them. And so we did enter into a developmental agreement with them. So it specifically, and it even says that no more than 61 units shall be permitted within the housing overlay district citywide. Fine. It was made for a specific reason, and we can't change that reason without changing the verbiage in the general plan itself.
Councilmember Menke, what would you like to see in order for you to feel comfortable with this?
I don't feel comfortable with it. I believe that what was intended and how the code evolved through the general plan was that, and for specific purposes, that existing residential properties were to be maintained and they were to have a legal non-conforming status. I believe that's what the intent was underlying our code section. So I do not feel comfortable.
So you don't feel comfortable rezoning existing residential units for residential use only?
Not under this policy, no, I don't.
Well, okay, given aside this policy, what policy would you feel comfortable doing it?
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, to change zoning for whatever reason in any other city requires public hearings, it requires supplemental EIRs. It's not just, oh, we made, because I guess I have a bad feeling about this because it was brought about saying, oh, we made an error. It should have been changed then. No, it shouldn't have. That wasn't the intent of it. It's going to impact our RENA numbers. I disagree with that. I don't believe that existing properties can impact, well, if we lost it somehow, well, yeah, if we tore down all the properties on Furlong also, that would happen, but that's I just don't see the benefit to the city. The owner hasn't processed, and the time to ask for that change would have been when they had all the public workshops and the supplemental environmental impact report then, and it states very clearly that everybody was involved, and nobody proposed any major alterations, wanted any changes. That's how it is. I don't see why the city is bringing this, first of all. Maybe I would be more inclined to do something differently, but I just don't think we can in good conscience.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember, the interesting thing, Dan just reminded me, that the residential units within, we don't have a R zone, or 1 or 2 or 3 zones within the city. We have this housing overlay zone that discusses, and Councilmember Menke, you're right, it does discuss new housing development. So another way of approaching it is attempting to, that would need a change to the code and the general plan to develop R1 zones somewhere in the city for those, because all the other houses are owned by the city and the city's exempt from its own zoning code.
But it would take a huge change. I think we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
I have a question. In regards to the zoning as residential on those particular properties, prior to the change in 2015, how long was it zoned as residential?
What?
It was never zoned residential. We didn't have residential zoning in Vernon.
So Mayor, it's always been zoned for industrial. It's always been zoned for industrial, and then there's different overlays within the city of Vernon. And what we're asking today is for that overlay to be applied as a residential or a housing overlay. So in the past, prior to 2015, it was zoned for industrial use. Just like all the city homes in Vernon, they're all zoned for industrial use.
In commercial one, commercial two, freight terminals and select. So everything is zoned industrial because that was the purpose of the city, to be exclusively industrial. And so they just did overlays instead of doing zoning like other cities do. I know, it's very odd.
Can I ask you a question? Why you don't benefit the city?
City brought it. If the homeowner had made application, it would be different. City is asking us to change it. I find that that's why I believe there has to be benefits to the city. You see what I'm saying?
But it doesn't, they bought the property, they built a house on there. And what you see now, how could that benefit the city?
No, that's not what I'm saying, Bill, really. What I'm saying is, okay, it's all, number one, what I'm saying is the property has always been not legal non-conforming. That has always been what that property has been, basically zoned, for lack of a better term. The only reason, because the city wants to change it, we have to justify our actions and why we're gonna change this to residential. I wouldn't have to say what benefit is to the city, I'd say what benefit is to the homeowner, right?
Yeah.
But she didn't bring it,
Well,
the city did.
And we go through the process now that we go, what do you call that one?
A verified application,
Yeah, send the,
I still would think we have the same problem at the end of the day. I think we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, given that this housing overlay doesn't fit. It was just for the apartments. It's not for existing structures. That's the only reason you guys, and you were here when it was done, Bill. It's the only reason you guys made this housing overlay district was so we could enter into that partnership and to build those units on 52nd Drive. It wasn't made for the purpose of changing an existing non-conforming legal use to housing. That wasn't the purpose. That's what my argument is. You can agree with it or not, but that's what I think. And I guess our council really never answered as what, tell me what you think.
Well, and I understand and appreciate your position. And the specific language of the code does have that word. Everybody.
except for the mayor.
As opposed to
Everyone is muted.
new or existing residential use. If those two words were in there, then I think that might alleviate consternation of trying to have the round peg into the square hole. And again, it is very rare that a city will not have an R1 zone, but Vernon does not. And so it attempts to, as we move forward with other developments in the city, this will need to be addressed also because of the West Side project does look to have residential uses. Either that will need a development agreement or some modification to our zoning codes. I appreciate the position. And I guess the question, that leads to the question, how does it get resolved? Either it gets resolved by approval, fitting that square peg into the round peg into the square hole, or it comes back with a zoning code amendment for the language of the zoning code, or if there is I think even if there was an application from the property owner, I think the same argument could be made. So I think there needs to be some evaluation of the language of the zoning code to see how that might be able to be adjusted in order to fit these circumstances.
And you understand my concern. We always talk about good governance. We can't start cutting corners. At this point, we have to abide by what it is. I didn't make it this way. However, I just, in good conscience again, don't think that we can put an existing structure, change its status under this code section. And we have the responsibility of doing the right thing, according to the laws in our book, as the way they are, as they are right now.
The language of the code also provides that all uses permitted in the I zone with conditional use permit are also permitted in the H overlay zone with conditional use permit.
In the industrial, since it's the underlying zoning is industrial. So of course that would apply.
My suggestion might be, Mayor, is to, well, there's a motion on the floor in a second, so of course that can be acted on. If that passes, then it passes. If not, the alternative would be is to refer this back to staff with additional time to try and present a different approach in the evaluation of this issue. So, Madam Mayor, there is a motion and a second on the floor.
I would like to refer it back to staff, as there is in fact residential property that's at those addresses. So I would like to refer it back to staff to see what they can come back with, because I think it should be corrected in terms of what it actually is on the land there.
The problem is, Mayor, that it's not something, it was meant to be the way it is, so it's not, we aren't correcting anything. We would be doing something new and different. And if we're gonna do that, I don't know whether a supplemental environmental impact report is required. If workshops are required, that's what it appears to me. Yes.
Are you saying the city, or if they borrow family, ask for a request for that, do you agree for that one?
Bill, unfortunately, I can't. I would be glad to, except that an existing, my interpretation of this is an existing structure, residential structure, does not fit in the housing overlay district because it was designed solely for new construction. That's what it says, Bill. I can't change that. You guys voted it in. I can't change it unless we go through all the protocols that are attendant to that.
So you're still gonna argue that one because it was changed to industrial or business to residential.
I'm just saying that existing residential properties, with the way the code and the general plan are written, do not fit within the meaning of the code section because they are not new developments.
I don't know. If you buy a property, if you wanted to rezone, you could do it. You request.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we're not quite structured that way. like other cities. We don't have residential. This housing, my argument, or my point is this housing overlay district was only added so we could build the apartments on 52nd Drive. That's what it says. I know you think I'm trying to be difficult. I'm really not. I'm just trying to do the right thing. That's the way I see it.
I don't,
So your feeling is, regardless of what the code section says, whether it says new property only, you'd be comfortable changing the existing property and putting it in the housing overlay district, even though it clearly doesn't belong there. Don't shoot the messenger.
we're arguing it because they didn't ask permission.
No, I'm saying that property's been legal non-conforming status forever, ever since it was built. And they want to change it to housing, but it doesn't fit in that. That's the only thing I'm telling you, nothing more. I don't have any other agenda here.
Being the city so small, you're residents. Don't you think it would be a disadvantage for them to buy that one and they can't do anything else?
I don't believe that's the case, and that isn't what the owners told us anyway.
I know, it's just because it's, in a business building.
No, it's not a business building, it's a residence, it's just, status is legal non-conforming. And it's been that way since it was built. So evidently, somebody got along to build the property unless they did cash, which is possible. You see, I'm supposing things that the property owner hasn't told me, since they did apply for this. You see what I'm saying?
So if the purpose of this one is if they want to sell or anything else in the property, is that what you're concerned about?
No, I'm not concerned about that at all, because the property owner hasn't told me what they want to do with the property.
So
What I
if they
know,
told you-
no. What I know is what we're trying to do does not fit. If it did, I would do it. It just doesn't. It says new construction. This is not new construction, Bill. And I don't see how I can in good conscience sit here and arbitrarily decide, oh, okay, since it's so small and we'll just do this favor and just push it in there even though it doesn't belong. I'm not doing this to punish anybody. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do.
So what do we want to do now?
There's a motion on the floor.
Do we want to put this on the table next meeting?
No, I moved to reject this. There's a motion on the floor right now, Bill, that was seconded. Shall we call a vote?
Mayor, Councilmember Mendez requested that I call for the question. So the motion made by Councilmember Menke and seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez is to reject the staff recommendation. Mayor Lopez?
I'm sorry, can you please reread that? Or restate that?
Sure. The motion by Councilmember Menke and seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez is to reject the staff recommendation, which would be to amend the zoning map.
I would like to see it go back to staff to see how we can proceed.
So then it would be appropriate for you to vote.
So no.
You can offer a substitute motion.
Okay. I would like it to go back to staff so we can figure out how to do it in the correct fashion.
So you're making a motion to table the matter to refer it to staff?
Yes.
Second.
Would you like to allow discussion on this motion?
Sure. The council.
That's not how it works in Rosenberg's rules. So is there any discussion on this motion, second motion?
I did not, is that the motion? I second.
Yes. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mayor, would you like me to call the question on the substitute motion?
Yes.
So the substitute motion made by Mayor Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Davis, is to refer the matter to staff. Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke?
No.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
No.
So being that it's 2-2, the motion fails. So I will go to the initial motion, which was made by Councilmember Menke, seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez, to reject the staff recommendation. Mayor Lopez?
No.
Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Menke?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
That motion fails as well.
Okay.
So no action has been taken on this item. Mayor, if you'd like to move on to the consent calendar?
Okay, so we will now go on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion. Items may be removed from the consent calendar by any member of the council. Those items removed will be considered immediately after the consent calendar.
Mayor, if we could pause just for a moment to bring Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra back into the,
And the register,
Yes.
sorry about that.
It's okay. So we will now go on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion. Items may be removed from the consent calendar by any member of the council. Those items removed will be considered immediately after the consent calendar. Does the council wish to pull any items from the consent calendar? Are there any public comments for the consent calendar?
I'm sorry, I believe Mayor Pro Tem
I
Ibarra.
have an edit to, the meeting minutes for July 7th. Page 3, on the minutes, it says the mayor should be, the mayor, recused herself, it's Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry. Good catch.
So that's my motion, is to edit that.
So a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra to approve the consent calendar with the amendment to the minutes of July 7th. Seconded by Councilmember Menke. To approve the consent calendar as amended. Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez? Motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go on to new business, item number 16.
Item 16 is commission and committee appointments, and I will present the report to you today. The city has various commissions and committees which have multiple vacancies expiring at the end of June. We widely advertised the vacancies and received several applications. So at this time, it would be appropriate for the council to make appointments to the Business and Industry Commission and the Community Fund Grant Committee, and for the council to ratify elections to the Green Vernon Commission and the Housing Commission. So if the council is comfortable and somebody would like to make a motion to make an appointment, we're looking for one appointment as the business representative for the Business and Industry Commission. We have 2 vacancies for the real estate representative for the Business and Industry Commission, and we also have the council representative seat. We can do those all together or separately.
Just to clarify, A and B is for the council to make a decision?
Yes, so Business and Industry is a council appointment. We'll start with that one.
I would like to appoint Doug Williams for the business representative.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So the motion is to appoint Doug Williams as the business representative to the Business and Industry Commission. Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez. Next, we have 2 vacancies for the real estate representatives on the Business and Industry Commission. One appointment goes through 2022 and the other goes through 2024. So we would need to make 2 appointments, one with the 2-year term, one with a 4-year term, because it's an unexpired term.
I'd like to appoint Jack Klein.
I'll second that.
And is that for the 4-year term?
That's fine.
We can do both. Do you have a second suggestion, or do you want to do that?
Can we do that separately?
Sure. Motion by Councilmember Menke, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra to appoint Jack Klein for the term ending June 2024. Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion carries. Now we need an appointment for the real estate representative to the Business and Industry Commission for the term ending June 2022.
I would like to appoint Tom Condon.
Is there a second to that motion? Motion by Mayor Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Davis to appoint Thomas A. Condon to the Business and Industry and Real Estate Representative for the term ending June 2022. Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion carries. Now we have the council member representative for the Business and Industry Commission. Councilmember Davis previously served in this position and is available to continue serving, if he so desires. He's not termed out.
I thought you were going to say he's not interested.
Oh, no. I don't know whether or not he's interested.
I would like to continue the appointment of Bill Davis for the position.
Motion by Mayor Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez. To appoint, Councilmember Davis to the Business Industry Commission Council Representative position. Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke, yes. Councilmember Gonzalez. Motion carries. Moving on to the Community Fund Grants Committee. We are in need of one appointment For an area representative, which is someone who resides or works in the Vernon area, there were 4 applicants.
I would like to appoint James Chang.
He's the business representative. Okay, so he applied as business representative. Is there a second to appoint James Chang as the business representative? Motion by Mayor Davis, motion by Mayor Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Davis to appoint James Chang as the business representative to the Community Fund Grant Committee. Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra? Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke? Yes. Councilmember Gonzalez? Motion carries. We also need an area representative who is someone who resides or works in the Vernon area. There were 4 applicants: Daniel Alley, Steve Herman, Judith Merlot, and Martin Perez.
I'd like to appoint Judith Merlot for the position.
Is there a second? Motion by Mayor Lopez, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra to appoint Judith Merlot, the area representative to the Community Fund Grant Committee. Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The 2 legislative representative positions on the Community Fund Grant Committee, District Director Mark Gonzalez, representing Assembly Member Santiago, has been serving, and it would be appropriate for the council to move to continue his appointment. Councilmember Menke, seconded by Councilmember Davis, to continue the appointment of the legislative representative Mark Gonzalez. Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra? Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez? Motion carries. Moving on to the Green Vernon Commission. These appointments are made, selected by the mayor and ratified by the city council. So Mayor, if you have your selections for the Green Vernon Commission business representative, environmental representative, and labor representative, we can, the council can ratify those.
For the business representative, Hector Morfin. And the environmental representative, Daniel, should we do it one by one or as a whole?
You can do them all together.
Okay, so then for the environmental representative, Daniel Alley and Catherine Brown. And the labor representatives, seeing the applications, I only saw one that applied for, which was Martin Perez.
That is true. There was only one application, and there are 2 vacancies. As I indicated in the agenda report, the code is ambiguous as to the definitions of these positions. So it would be at the council's or the mayor's discretion to fill that vacancy in some way as she sees fit, or to leave it open.
Does the council have any suggestions in terms of a labor representative for the Green Vernon Commission?
Well, this will at least give us a quorum on the commission, so that's a good start. And
Can we always discuss the definitions later?
yeah, that would require an ordinance to amend the code to clarify the definitions, which I think would be appropriate.
Okay.
So it would be appropriate for the council to make a motion to ratify the selection of Hector Morfin as the business representative, Daniel Alley and Catherine Brown as the environmental representatives, and Martin Perez as the labor representative on the Green Vernon Commission.
I'll make that motion with adding to come back to, or to discuss it, actually.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra, seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez, to ratify the selections of the mayor and to bring back consideration of amending the code to clarify definitions. Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Menke?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez? Motion carries. Finally, the Housing Commission. We have one vacancy for the employee of a Vernon business. We also received one application, so this would be ratifying the mayor's selection.
I would like to select Steve Herman.
You want like to move the ratification of her selection? Thank you. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra, seconded by Councilmember Davis to ratify Mayor Lopez's selection of Steve Herman as the employee of Vernon business to the Vernon Housing Commission. Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra. Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we will go on to oral reports. City Administrator Fandino, do you have a report?
Yes, I do, Mayor. On July 10th, Vernon Police Department officers responded to the 3600 block regarding a single vehicle injury traffic collision. The vehicle rolled over into the Bandini regulator station, causing nearly $20,000 in damage. On July 13th, Vernon Police Department officers responded to a 4500 block of district regarding a carjacking where the suspect used a knife again to gain compliance and take the victim's vehicle. Officers were able to track the victim's cell phone and arrest the female suspect who was walking in the riverbed nearby. The vehicle was later located in the city of Ontario. On July 15th, detectives arrested a suspect for his involvement in 2 separate criminal investigation cases. The suspect was charged with burglary that occurred at 2000 block of 38th Street and vandalism that occurred at 3700 block of Alameda. On July 17th, Vernon Police Department officers arrested a suspect in the 5500 block of Pacific for driving a stolen vehicle. On July 19th, Vernon Police Department officers arrested a suspect in the 4600 block of Alcoa for driving a tractor that was previously reported as stolen vehicle in Vernon. Officers also recovered a handgun and the trailer attached to it. In lieu of our large family scale game night event for this year in August, the city staff is organizing a giveaway for the Vernon student residents, which will take place sometime in the month of August. We're currently working with a couple of different vendors to see if we can get low-cost laptops to be able to give to students that will be going to grade school, middle school, high school, and college. There will be more information on this to come. I'm not sure, Freddie, do you want to give an update on UIC? Yes. The city currently is working with the USC Medical Center to put a pod or a trailer here at City Hall, and this would be a testing location for different venues in the meatpacking district area. So different employees would be available to participate in this testing protocol, and Freddie has a little bit more information.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and Council members. So UIC have reached out to us to do a trial on vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, and they were interested coming to the city of Vernon due to the fact that we have meatpacking businesses around here. And actually, I think they reached out to the CEO of Smithfield, who's interested for them coming to their businesses here. So they reached out to City Administrator Fandino and me and see if they will be more than happy to collaborate with us and actually bring a trailer that they want to put on the city property and use it as their main hub where they can either go to businesses or people can come to them while they're doing that trial. What is exciting about it is actually this is connected to, I don't know if you're reading the news, the one that Oxford University is doing in England. And it's very promising. So this is the phase of it in the United States. So I think it's great that they reached out to the city and they wanted to participate and be part of it. So we're looking forward to it. But I think city administrator from Daylight was really welcoming to them and said anything they need to make this work, the city is available to do that. And I think USC was very excited about it. So this is the continual collaboration we want to have with the universities and to help Vernon actually stand up. This is what we do. Thank you. Any questions? By the way, I have signed up already, and so I can send a link if you're interested in a trial participant. I don't want to say guinea pig, but if you want to be a participant, you can sign up. So they send a link already and enroll myself. So we'll see.
Thank you.
I have nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any reports from council? Seeing that there are none, we will now go on to closed session for agenda items numbers 17 and 18. Thank you.